Hey guys and gals, my name is Eclepin and welcome back to Umineko! Start of episode 2 with Matt.
Hey! I am gonna die.
Matt's going to die. You heard it here first. Into chapter... Oh, what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say that this visual novel is going to kill me. I'm pretty sure the witch is going to jump out of the screen and murder me. Also, I came to realize why you deny the witch so much.
Why is that?
Because of what we learned from the tea party.
And that is?
As long as one person denies the witch and continues to deny the witch, then she can't exist in the form that she wants to. So you're kind of being the battler out of the two of us. Right? Am I right on that?
You got me. You got me. You got me. Let's get right into this.
Let's kick it.
He has no idea what to expect, by the way. And the background of the menu changed from the mansion to some aquarium-looking type thing.
Yeah, I did pick up on that. I didn't really want to say anything because I don't know what it means. Shannon!
Shannon, is that a jellyfish? No. Or stingray. That was not a jellyfish, that was a stingray.
Yeah.
Shannon found a pair of hammerhead sharks playfully swimming in the tank. Made a fuss like a grade schooler seeing an aquarium for the first time. We're in the Golden Lands. No. Maybe.
Wow, okay.
We'll see.
They're on a date though.
そんなのかわいそうです。知ってますか？水族館に来て美味しそうなんて言い出すのは世界中でも日本人だけなんだそうですよ。
I think I would too. I like fish.
I'm not a huge fan, but some fish I'll eat. I like salmon. Salmon is good.
そうなんだ。アメリカ人でもイタリア人でもきっと食べちゃいたいっていう。
その
似合ってるよ。本当に。
Shannon embraced her chest with both hands in embarrassment. She apparently felt like she was being made fun of for wearing these clothes that she wasn't used to. Even though George's face didn't show it, the truth was that he even was surprised at how easily those tremendous words had left his lips. And he was as embarrassed as Shannon on the inside. However, when he saw how embarrassed Shannon was, he started to feel as though he was teasing the girl he liked, and instead of embarrassment, ticklish amusement welled up inside him. Wait, that isn't just a feeling. I really am teasing the girl I like. It pains me to admit it, but I used to think that such embarrassing expressions had fallen so far out of use, they no longer showed up even in a manga. I switched from some third person's perspective to George's.
To George's, yeah.
On the contrary, if I'd seen a couple acting like that, I'd have felt like throwing rocks at them. However, even if rocks were thrown at us now, I'm sure they would be just like funfetti celebrating us. Now, I can't even remember those lonely days, when I felt jealous of couples who were completely oblivious to their surroundings. To use an old-fashioned phrase, these would truly be rose-colored days. I was so entranced that I no longer even noticed the big tank of the world's largest aquarium. Instead, I only saw Shannon happily playing with the fish, all her changing emotions showing on her face.
すごいですね。クジラを泳がせることができる大水槽なんて。
この大水槽がここの最大の売りだそうだからね。なんでも世界で最大なんだそうだよ。
そうなんですか？それはすごいですね。本当に素敵です。水槽じゃなくて、まるで海の一部をナイフでスッと切り取って。
そうだね。これはもう立派な。
Despite its size, I hadn't thought of the tank as anything more than a tank. That's why I thought her expression of that slicing off a part of the sea with a knife was so interesting. No matter how far humans broaden their experiences, in the end, they can only hold a single personal worldview. Maybe that's why it's so interesting to interact with someone who has a different worldview. I said that to her honestly, and she responded.
確かに、これは本当の海ではないかもしれません。でも、ここに泳ぐ彼らが海だと信じたなら、これは確かに海なんです。
たとえ有限の水槽の中だったとしてもね。
海だって有限ですよ。
Therefore, Beatrice might not be a real witch, but if everyone believes that she is a real witch, then it must be so. by that logic.
Maybe.
That's just some bullshit. I don't know if that's true or not.
仮に無限だったとしても、私たちは生きているうちにどれほどの広さを行き来できるんでしょうね。きっとそれは海よりずっと狭い。
確かに皮肉な話だね。世界はこんなにも広いのに、僕たち人間のほとんどは自分の国からも出ずに生涯を終える。そこが完成された世界だと信じられるなら、たとえ狭い井戸の底だったって立派な世界で海なんです。そこに住むカエルにとっては。
Shannon, who spent her days as a servant on a small island 10 kilometers in circumference called Okejima, said that with a smile.
What is going on? Turn of the Golden Witch. Is that the name of the next episode? Next chapter?
Yeah.
Oh man, this takes me back. Takes me back to the plane ride.
Plane ride?
Plane ride to the,
Fall! Ew, fall!
the ridiculously rocking boat. That no boat would ever rock that much.
Pretty much.
Unless it was like a tsunami. Hey, everyone's in the credits. So not just the kids who were at the tea party are coming back, it looks like.
In the end, we discover that this is just
That's new. She wasn't in the first credits in episode 1.
That background is new too. All of these backgrounds are new.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Like the locations.
The music is too happy. It scares me. Oh, it's we've heard that, not that arrangement before, but that song, that melody.
After we finished walking through the whole aquarium, we had a slightly late afternoon lunch at a restaurant with a nice view. Any boy's heart will jump about at the sight of a buffet. I myself was like that in the past, but with Shannon beside me, this buffet felt different. We couldn't shamefully make a huge pile of nothing but my favorite foods. I was, how should I put it, worried about my appearance, and chose a menu suited for a snob. Toast, salad, and coffee.
Oh, come on.
If I were by myself, I would have made a pile of greasy stuff like yakisoba, mashed potatoes, gratins, and the like.
Shannon はそんな程度でお腹が足りるのかい?
George looks like a gangster in that.
He does. He's got the dog tags.
だとしたら、男ってのは本当に燃費の悪い生き物らしいね。
別にそういうつもりじゃなくて。
I'm gonna go get the door quick because somebody's hammering on it. I'll be right back. Sorry for people that are. Let's see if Matt has anything interesting to say while I do that.
I don't really have anything interesting to say. Other than that, I'm enjoying this Let's Play, and that this part should probably be edited out. You know, by the end.
I have no idea what that was about. Somebody just started hammering on the door. I heard some door open and what was in.
Was that your door or the door to the building?
I think that was the door to like the main apartment thing. Usually that means there's mail or something and somebody's trying to get mail in, but
it sounded really aggressive.
Yeah, it did. I didn't see anybody inside or outside, so I don't know what was going on.
Yeah.
Anyways, were you saying anything interesting that I interrupted?
No. You might want to edit that out. I know you don't always like to do that, but I couldn't think of anything to say.
Well, here's an extra 2 minutes of your time being wasted to enjoy. On Shannon's tray, there was only a tea and salad. Maybe the very idea that she could get away with at least one more dish indicated I was thinking with my male stomach.
ジョージ様こそそれで足りるんですか?
No, it's not enough, but it is enough now.
男の方はもう少し召し上がった方が良いかと思います。普段のジョージ様だったらもう少しお昼を召し上がられていると思いますよ。
しまった。そうか。シャノンには僕が本家で昼食をとるときどれくらい食べてるのかバレてるんだったね。
はい。だから今日はお腹の具合でも悪いのかと思いまして。
Shannon was showing concern that I wasn't feeling well. Apparently, I had made her worry with my stupid attempt to impress her. And in any case, it didn't seem like my stomach was going to let me keep this pretense up any longer.
いやもう白状するよ。ついついカッコつけちゃってね。女の子と一緒だからって遠慮しちゃって。
だと思いました。親族会議でのお昼の食べっぷりから考えて、それではとても足りないと思いましたので遠慮なさらずに、どうぞもう一皿を取りに行ってきてくださいな。
Now, does this make up from not getting any Shannon in last episodes?
I think so. I think it does.
Good.
ずるいな。僕ばっかり恥ずかしいよ。じゃあシャノンはどうなんだい？普段からこんな小食で後ろ宮家のお勤めがこなせるのかい？
Yeah, they starved me to death.
Jeez.
Rip.
She's so cute when she hesitates. Just
Shannon
tell the
grew
man
silent
what's going
and
on.
blushed bright red. Apparently, I wasn't the only one putting on a front. When I realized that, my embarrassment disappeared completely.
なんだ。シャノンもそれじゃ足りないんじゃないか。そうだよそうだよ。普段のランチならもう少し量が多いものをペロリと平らげてたよ。
女の子のお腹は魔法ができてるからこれでも平気なんです。
There's no such thing as magic.
Made of magic?
ということは
I've never heard
僕
that
たち
before.
は互いに見えっ張りだったってことになるね。もう遠慮はなしにしないかい？
I smiled to show that I wouldn't make fun of her anymore and stood up from the seat.
せっかく沖縄まで来たのにゴーヤを食べないのはもったいないからね。ゴーヤの炒め物でも持ってくるよ。シャノンも一緒に行こうよ。ほらほら。
To anyone watching us, we might have seemed like a pretty humorous and above all embarrassing couple. Now I'm hungry.
Yeah.
But it's only after becoming a couple that you realize this banter means the world to us and is our world. So no matter how cold the looks we might have been getting from other people, we wouldn't even notice. Indeed, at this age, I finally understand the feelings of couples who want to endlessly flirt without any regard to their surroundings. After I returned with the plate piled up with fried food, Shannon arrived with a lovely cake. While laughing at our fake stoicism. Stoicism. We resumed our lunch. I was a broken record there.
Turn it into a rap. Anyone who's watching who's good at editing, take that bit, and edit it into a rap.
Yes.
Go for it.
Our window seats, which we were lucky to get, showed us seaside scenery so grandiose that it didn't even fit entirely within our field of vision. However, because of the cloudy sky, it was a far cry from its normal beauty.
そうですね。晴れていたらさぞや真っ青な海を見せてくれたでしょうに。
そうだね。普段六軒島で海を見慣れてると思うけど、ここの海はきっと格別な青さを見せてくれたはずだよ。残念だな。
でもお仕事の最中に見る海はどんなに青くても灰色と同じです。でも今日はお仕事中じゃないから。
Apparently, Shannon was doing her best to say an embarrassing line, but I grayed harshly.
惜しいな。ジョージ様と二人きりで見る海なら、たとえ灰色でも真っ青に見えますって言えたら100点満点でご褒美だったんだけどな。
すみません。
ご褒美は何だったか聞きたい？
聞いてもいいものでしたら。
ダメ。教えない。
F's in chat.
This is great. Pay respects.
ずるいですよ。
When I was in elementary school, I was always the kid that got bullied. When everyone teased me, I grew nervous and speechless to the delight of the bullies. Back then, I wondered why everyone teased me. And now it's using Shannon like this. I understand why. And this is so much fun.
So I'm gonna keep doing
I
it.
can play with her emotions however I please, and I can have them all to myself.
Huh.
Right now, I can't think of any higher pleasure, which is exactly why I have to treat her lightly. I don't want her to get embarrassed and have a bad time,
Yeah.
so I decided to end the topic there and then.
Good man.
It's not good to be too persistent.
お昼が終わったら海岸を歩いてみないかい？ひょっとすると雲が晴れて素敵な海が見られるかもしれないよ。
そうですね、行ってみたいです。
うん、そうしよう。でもそのケーキも本当に美味しそうだね。僕も同じものを持ってこようかな。
いけません。お昼にそんなに食べた上にケーキまで食べたら太っちゃいますよ。
She can give it back.
ジョージ様は秀吉様の血が濃いみたいですから気をつけないとおデブさんになっちゃいます。
Yo! Press
じ
F.
ゃあシャノンは僕がおデブになったら嫌いになっちゃう？僕はたとえシャノンがおデブになっちゃっても嫌いにならないよ。
そういう意味じゃなくて、ちゃんと体を気遣わないと健康にって。
母さんにもよく注意されるよ。やっぱり僕も太極拳とかを始めて運動しないとダメかな。
That reminds me, I should probably start going back to the gym.
Yeah, I've been so inconsistent with it.
I haven't been since August. Since school started up, school started up, my routine got screwed up, and we're at the gym.
Yeah, that's usually one of the first things to go.
Well, it'll come back. The first week of January will be death to go to the gym.
But then by like the middle of the month, it'll be fine.
The middle of the month? I'd say by January 7th. I don't give people that long.
Well, you never know.
Actually, you know what though? The interesting thing is, we won't even have to worry about that because by the time we get back from winter break, it'll be January 14th, mid-month already.
Oh yeah,
People who vowed to go to the gym will never end up going to the gym because they won't be here to start going to the gym.
that's true.
So there you have it. People are going to get fat on Christmas week.
It also depends on the time too. Like I've gone at like 7 and it's been fine.
7 in the evening?
Yeah. So like, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'll definitely be good.
I'll get fat with you, George, don't worry.
And Shannon.
ダイエットは無茶な運動よりも食生活の
Whoa, whoa, whoa,
いい
whoa,
ん
whoa,
ですよ。
whoa, are you saying he's fat?
I think she is.
その上で運動を重ねないと効果が出ないんだそうです。
That is correct though.
It
You
is.
lose weight by eating
Change
instead
your
of...
eating habits.
I can
And
vouch for
cardio.
that. I've lost 30 pounds by dieting.
Mm,
Not too many people here know that, but
really?
I actually lost 30 pounds like the last 2 years by changing my eating habits.
I can't even picture you 30 pounds heavier.
Yeah. Well, it's...
You were.
I was.
That's fine. Yeah, I was really chubby in middle school, and then I thinned out.
Everybody was chubby in middle school.
Yeah, I guess so, except a lot of people got more height, and I didn't. So,
Yeah.
it just kind of phased out of my body.
Yeah.
つまりそれはデザートのケーキは控えろってことだね。じゃあ仕方ないからシャノンがそのケーキを頬張るところを眺めていてあげるよ。
そのケーキ丸々一つはさすがに食べ過ぎだと思いますけど、半分くらいだったら大丈夫かもしれません。これ本当に美味しいんですよ。
Shannon cut her own cake and tried to move half to my salad plate. I had no doubt that she wanted to share the flavor of the delicious cake with me. Even so, I deliberately and meanly pulled my plate away from her.
Oh, George.
She blinked her eyes in surprise. She couldn't seem to figure out if that was a refusal to cake or not. So I winked, opened my mouth and said, "Ah!"
それが一番したかったんですね。もうジョージ様は甘えん坊です。はい、
There's a close-up. While still wearing an embarrassed, exasperated face, Shannon offered the cake to me with a fork.
I wonder what the the focus of that shot is supposed to be.
Chomp. From like 4 other anime/visual novels, the word chomp gives me PTSD. I'm not gonna mention what shows visual novels they are, but chomp is PTSD inducing.
Okay, I'll keep it in mind. I'll be sure to say it every once in a while.
Chomp. You say chomp, instantly I start cowering in fear.
Crying in the fetal position.
Yeah. It tastes like cheap chocolate cake you can find anywhere. Wow, you waste a ton of money there.
Yeah, Shannon, nice job.
Still, it was exceptional, because Shannon was feeding me. Because eating cake in such an embarrassing way, as if we were the ultimate stereotypical lovey-dovey couple I've made my journey for many years. Fair enough. Cake's flavor heavenly. If the Earth is destined to end someday, I wouldn't have any regrets, as if it happened right then.
I don't like when these characters say stuff like that.
It was such a moment of blitz.
I also don't like when these characters say stuff like that, where they're happy or things are going well, because I know that it's gonna turn it. It's gonna turn. It's gonna go bad.
If you're happy and you know it, go to the storage shed.
Oh god.
If you're happy and you know it, go to the bedroom. Then you'll get stabbed in the chest by some steak of demon shit. If you're happy and you know it, go and die.
That really worked out.
No, it was terrible.
I think we could sell that as a single. We're dropping our mixtape soon, guys.
complete with sto. After that, we gathered shells, ran from the waves, and enjoyed each other's company while walking along the beach. In the end, the clouds never parted. However, we both believed that our eyes were still reflecting in deep blue sea.
Somewhere.
なんだか幸せすぎて怖くなります。
たまに言うね。
Oh.
何を怖がることがあるんだい？
私、後ろ宮家にお仕えする使用人です。そんな私が後ろ宮家に連なる方とその過ぎたことのように思えて。
僕もびっくりしてるよ。シャノンちゃんと出会ったのは昨日今日のことじゃない。何年も前から面識もある。でも年に何度もない親族の会合の席で挨拶をするだけ。そんな君とこうして一緒に過ごせる関係になるなんて全然想像できなかったよ。それはシャノンもでしょ？
私はその想像だけはしてました。いえ、その想像というよりはその妄想みたいなもので、いつも紳士的で思いやりのあるジョージ様とご縁があったらなってその妄想してただけで。
じゃあ僕たちの縁は君のその信じた心のおかげだね。
The real Umineko of rom-com.
思う力には魔法が宿るんだ。
I think I would also be fine with that.
だからその魔法がきっと僕らを巡り合わせてくれた。
Oh, fuck off with the magic.
そうですね。多分。
That's true. That's like the third time they've mentioned magic.
それは本当に魔法だったんだと思います。
I'm gonna get some shots, and we're gonna take shots every time the word magic comes up.
We're gonna be fucking dead.
Wait until later in the game.
Vomiting in the corner.
でもね、そんなことはないんだよ。僕の中でも毎年出会うたびに美しく見違えていった君の存在はとても大きくなっていた。そして君にとっての僕も今日ここに僕らがあることは必然の結果であって魔法や奇跡なんかじゃないのさ。
奇跡はあったんです、ジョージ様。
She sat at the water's edge and gazed beyond the sea.
魔法あったんです。
I was bewildered by that slightly mysterious expression, which I'd sometimes heard her use.
魔法が？
はい、魔法です。言っても信じてくれないでしょうから言いません。でも確かにその魔法には私とジョージ様を巡り合わせてくれる奇跡を叶える力がありました。
それは何かのおまじないのこと？
そうですね。そういうものの類かもしれません。一つ違うのはおまじないなんかじゃなく本当に本当の魔法だったという点です。
Shannon believes in magic. Beatrice believes in magic. Coincidence?
I think not. Have we ever seen them together in the same room?
No!
No, we haven't.
See? I'm the best Sherlock Holmes.
We solved it,
We're
guys.
Watson and Holmes. We solved it. Perhaps Shannon isn't alone in wanting to credit an encounter on a miracle or on chance. It might be a universal thing that all girls share. For a man like me, an encounter with a girl is 70% effort to try to please her, and 20% raw courage, and only 10% chance. And 100% reason to remember
the
game. What she believes to be everything carries little relative weight within me. Maybe that way of thinking is in itself calculating and typical of men.
100% concentrated power of will.
But were I to express that in words, any kind of magic would be broken. I do think that to become this close has taken many fortitudes, concessions, or fortuities, concessions, and great efforts from us both. We have this private time together now only as the result of all those things put together, and if she wants to call that magic, that isn't strange in its latest. That is why I answered her the way I did.
そうだね。同じ運命を100回繰り返したら、僕と君がこういう関係になる結果は一度しか起こらないものだったかもしれないね。
Remember the last time we heard this?
No.
The ring? In the outside of the gazebo?
Oh, this line or this music?
This music.
Oh yeah, you're right. Okay.
互いを意識し合いながらも、僕たちは他人行儀な関係を今も続けていたかもしれない。そんなよその世界の僕らから見れば、今の僕たちはまさに奇跡のような関係に違いないだろうから。
そういうのじゃなくて、本当に魔法なんです。
Interesting.
男の方にいくら言ってもこういうのは信じてもらえないんでしょうか。カノン君も全然信じてくれませんし。
Oh, dang Canon君。
僕が信じなくて魔法が解けたら嫌だからね。
ジョージ様。
In a small voice, I apologize for making light of her magic. Those words seem to make Shannon a lot happier. After all, if a pair of people believes in magic of love, it becomes eternal.
そうそう。僕からわがままが一つあるんだけど。
はい、何でしょうか。
そのジョージ様って呼び方嫌いじゃないけど、もうなしにしないかい？もちろん後宮家では対面もあるだろうから、六軒島での普段まで強制はしないよ。でも二人きりの時はなしにしよう。
Oh.
そういうルールにしよう。
So this is a flashback.
ルールですか。
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
どうなるんでしょう。
そうだ。
Because I remember under the pavilion, he said, "Remember what I said about not calling me that." Okay, all right.
So we're back in time right now.
Yeah.
ルール違反には何か罰ゲームがないといけないかもしれないね。そうだな。何がいいかな。聞きたい？い
え、聞きたくありません。
何がいいか僕も考えておくことにするよ。
はい、ジョージさん。
素敵な響きだね。嬉しいよ、シャノン。
私もサヨという名前があります。
そっか、ルールはフェアじゃないといけないね。僕もそれを守って今から君のことをサヨと呼ぶことにするよ。いいね、サヨ。
はい。
I put my arm around her shoulder and held her close. Her delicate body was pulled irresistibly towards me, and she looked into my chest like a doll. As I held her head in my arms, we looked at the horizon together.
真っ青な海だね。この海を二人で見られてとても嬉しいよ。
Why are you looking at me, man?
私もです。
No, those are the type of words that you don't like.
Oh, yeah. I'm kind of just letting it happen.
As we gazed at the gray sea and a light rain began to sprinkle down, we kept listening to each other's heartbeats.
Just let them enjoy it while they can. Let me enjoy it while I can. Before everything goes back to shit.
The sound of waves soaked into my ears. No, this was the sound of raging waves. My body, bathed in painfully cold splashes, did not allow me to forget the memory of the day when my old fate was broken and smashed. In the past, tomorrow had literally been like a mirror to me. All I could see in it was the same me that existed today. My tomorrow would never be any different from my today. That was my old fate, but at the moment, for the first time, I saw a different fate beyond the mirror. Who is this? What do you think? I think it's Shannon. It sounds like Shannon.
Beyond the mirror.
It sounds like Shannon talking here.
I don't know.
The witch whispered? She tempted me to take a bite out of the fruit of knowledge?
Oh.
She tormented me, saying that as long as I stayed in the paradise of God, I would remain furniture? Yeah, this is definitely Shannon.
I think this is Shannon.
And so I learned of love and decided to choose to become a person. Those days were like sweetly melting honey, but then I hadn't realized that they were the beginning of days filled with a new kind of suffering. I came to this islet on the motorboat that I had just been told about. No, I couldn't possibly call it an islet. It'd really be more appropriate to call it a reef. It had a torii and a small shrine for the local deity. Do you remember this shrine?
Is it the same one that had disappeared when they got there?
I think so. I mean,
because we saw
Maria pointed out. She's like, there used to be a shrine here.
Yeah.
Ooh, it's gone. It's gone.
That was the gate, though. I forget what it's called.
Oh, then it's
so I don't know if it's the same thing or not.
All right. Well, it was probably built to worship the guardian deity of Kenjima. Even though I didn't know the exact meaning, I understood that it had a holy significance. Despite being in a place like this, I took just one more look around to see if there was anyone observing me. The only things I could see were the stormy ocean, Nijima looming in the distance, the waves breaking against Kenjima's steep cliffside. I readied myself, timidly approached the small shrine, and took up the mirror that had been placed there. It was an old-looking mirror, dim and dirty, and if it were an ordinary mirror, that would probably give you a terribly bad impression of its value. However, since the mirror had been offered to the small shrine, the quality made me feel some kind of divinity from it. And I realized, this was not merely a mirror, even if it was nothing more than an old-looking mirror to a non-believer like myself. In actuality, it was a mirror that had an important meaning. Is it really alright to break it after being captivated by honeyed words? No, this is no mirror. It is the inescapable life I have lived until today, my fate. Break it, and seize all life from beyond the mirror. If I don't break it, my life will forever be a pair of facing mirrors. Nothing will ever change in the slightest. The witch whispers. She tempts me to take a bite out of the fruit of knowledge. Or maybe I have already had a taste of that fruit, because I end up knowing those maddening emotions. Just as Adam and Eve felt compelled to pluck the fig leaf, I can no longer go without breaking this mirror. I fought with conflict for many days. Inside my heart, the virtuous part of me and the part that sided with the witch repeatedly fought with each other. And now here I am. Indeed, the part of me who is here, win or lose. There's only one thing I know. To obtain something, you must be ready to lose something. The cowards who don't risk loss and never try to change anything will never be given the key to open the path to a new future. The key is already in my hands. It is to break this. To break it. Is there any other effort I can make as furniture in prison on Kenjima? No. There's nothing but this. Come, have courage. I'll free myself from being mere furniture, and I'll accept my new sufferings and become human. These are surely the small and large trials I must impose on myself.
Okay, what is going on right now?
Now, break it. Break the eternally unchangeable fate that imprisons me. Into pieces. I raised high, thought back on all those days of conflict, and after a time far too brief to do them justice, I finished my reflections and threw it. The thunder roared, crying out against me for my outrageous act. It was truly the wrath of the angels preparing to banish me from eternal paradise. I looked down on the mirror tumbling at my feet, broken in two equal parts, and having made sure I accomplished my task, I looked up at the enraged sky and screamed.
約束は守りました。今度はあなたが約束を守ってくれる番ですよ。
thunder roared once more. I had already been banished from paradise, so I would have to struggle by myself in order to live. The witch had said it. That's the single element of the world. To lose it means to lose the world. Like how a flask with a hole in the bottom can't be filled no matter how much water you scoop into it.
約束は守りました。今度はあなたが約束を守る番です。私の願いをどうか叶えてください。ベアトリーチェ様。
I'm not sure if this opening is any different. It may or may not be.
It looks the same so far, but I guess we'll see. I do like this song a lot. Looks like there's a lot more witches. And an idol subplot? Is she a zombie?
Oh, you got me. Yeah.
That's cute. Oh, that was Rosa with the gun.
Yes, astute observation. Rosa was at some carnival game.
Oh yeah.
Where you have to like shoot the things off the things to win a prize.
Win a prize? Yeah, definitely. She looked really determined.
Alright.
That's intense.
Oh yeah. Here we go! Furniture, chapter title.
Oh god.
You wanted to know about this. My mind wandered back to the days where I could barely imagine the happiness I have today. I was a middle schooler at the time, an ordinary girl who dreamed about love as is normal at that age, but I really should not have dreamed that dream. I dreamed a dream.
In time gone by.
Because I am furniture. Furniture is nothing more than a tool and is not human. For a person less than a human such as myself, just receiving my education was more than sufficient happiness. So even thinking about love was more than I deserved.
Did I ever tell you that I was in Les Mis?
You were in Les Mis?
At my high school.
Interesting.
Played Marius.
My high school sang Les Mis medley. My high school choir.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
we also did that when I was at my high school. So that's cool.
The Ushirome family conference was a customary event held every October, and the relatives would occasionally visit at other times as well. Of course, they didn't come just to drink tea.
No, they came to debate about how to carve up their father's inheritance.
On this day, Ava's family had visited the head family on Rokkenjima. 3 people from Krause's family and 3 people from Ava's family had gathered in the parlor and were having a friendly chat as they updated everyone on their situations. Genji had supposedly told Kinzo of Ava's family arrival, but he hadn't come back down yet. He was probably immersed in his own research and couldn't spare the time. This often happens when others wait patiently for their fickle father to come down. What's going on?
早く手助けができるよう頑張りたまえ。ありがとうございます。今は父の紹介でたくさんの人生の先輩方に本当に貴重な勉強をさせていただいています。そのいずれも学校では学べないことばかりです。学校で習うのは国語算数やない。
This might be when Georgia and Shannon started.
ものを学ぶ姿勢と態度を学ぶんや。そ
And
の
then
基
they
礎
look
が
about
で
the
き
same
て
age,
よ
and
う
George
やく
said
生涯をかけた勉強が始まるんや
Bart
で。
had been like in a relationship with Shannon for years, so
That's
like,
true. Maybe it's like a year or two
こ
back.
こをな
could be.
勘違いしとるやつは生涯学べん石頭や。国語算数で満点取れても会社じゃ役に立たへん。全くその通りだよ。秀吉さんの教育方針はいつも本当にご立派ですな。ジョージもまだまだ半人前や。それを常に忘れんで
勉強に励むんやで。
よしなさいよ、あなた。ジョージはいっつも一生懸命頑張ってるわよ。
The bitch is back.
ねえ。
The bitch is
本当
back.
に立派ね。うちのジェシカにも爪の赤を分けてもらいたいわ。
Jessica.
チェまだテストの結果を根に持ってるのかよ。受験勉強は私なりにやってるってこんな席でまで言うことはねえだろうよ。うせえぜ。
When George was praised for his diligence, the conversation always nearly turned to Jessica, who hated studying. Jessica made an openly displeased face as though she had known it would come back to her.
やれやれ、ジェシカは勉強と一緒に少しはおしとやかな言葉遣いも学ぶ必要があるんじゃないかね。後ろ宮家の家紋を背負う一人娘がそれではみっともないな。
あら、これはこれで魅力的よね。時代は変わるのよ。男に食わしてもらうために定粛を装わなくてはならなかった時代はとっくに終わってるんだから。
Damn.
そう、やっぱエヴァおばさんは分かってますね。
今日は頭痛が特に答えます。
Of course it is.
大丈夫ですか？夏日おばさん、顔色が優れないみたいです。
You know what would fix that?
大丈夫です。
Shotgun.
Or a metal-looking
Ice
stake.
pick.
Ice pick. Yeah.
でも本当
Unicorn
に
horn.
月日が経つのは早いものね。
Honestly, you could really use the unicorn horn
Yeah, I think
to
so.
cure a headache.
I mean, I love her, so I don't want her to die again, but you know.
半ズボン姿で浜辺を駆け巡ってずぶ濡れになって帰ってきた日がついこの間のように思います。
それはジェシカちゃんも同じよね。今じゃお化粧の仕方にだってこだわるレディーなんだから。眉にこだわりがあるのね。今日のあなたとってもキュートよ。
ありがとうございます。誰も気づいてくれなかったんで自信なくしてたとこです。
A full smile rose to Jessica's face as the results of her own studies were finally noticed. Ava smiled back just as widely, and then she turned that smile towards Natsui.
ダメよ、夏日姉さん。自分のこの小さな変化にも気づかなくちゃ。
Poor Jessica is just getting manipulated.
Yeah.
かわいそうなジェシカちゃん。一番最初にお母さんに気づいてもらいたかったでしょうに。
Sure.
いいんですいいんです。あの人そういうの全然気づかない。
Oh,
Oof.
press F.
ジェシカ、母親をあの人呼ばわりとは感心できんね。
Oof.
謝りなさい。
言葉遣いについては
Oof.
後でよく言って聞かせます。
Oof.
What's wrong
お
about
子様は
calling
邪
her
魔だっ
she?
てんな
I
ら
don't
そ
know.
う
It's
言
not
ってくれ。
respectful. Call her your mother, I guess.
Oh, wow.
私は席を外させてもらうぜ。ここは空気がよどんでるぜ。
ジェシカ、
Jessica was still at that unpredictable age with exams right around the corner. Recently, she had clashed often with her mother, who was unenthusiastic about her education.
失礼いたします。
Jessica, making to leave the parlor in bad mood, and Shannon pushing his serving cart loaded with tea bumped into each other.
ああ、シャノン。私の分のお茶はいらないぜ。私は庭でもほっつき歩いてくる。
お嬢様？
シャノン、お茶が冷めます。配膳を急ぎなさい。
失礼しました。
Shannon hadn't actually done anything wrong, but Natsui felt like some shame to herself and Shon lashed out at her emotionally. This was something that often happened in the Ushirame family, but it seemed that Shannon wasn't strong willed enough to accept it that way. She shrunk back and nervously prepared the black tea. She had the unfortunate habit of making more mistakes when she felt intimidated. Her pitiful appearance dispersed the peaceful atmosphere that had been there just until a moment ago. That really wasn't Shannon's fault, but she thought she might be the source and felt pressure on her chest. Her shaking fingers made the porcelain and you couldn't have called it graceful, not even as an empty compliment.
Are you okay, man?
I'm stroking out here. The more pitiful everyone thought that was, the greater the silence grew. The more irritated Natsuki looked, and the more Shannon cowered. Shannon's thin neck felt it was being choked and suffocated by the death god called tension.
Death god.
Then George spoke cheerfully, as to blow away the stiff atmosphere.
これはいい香りだね。何の紅茶かな？
It's Shannon tea.
George wouldn't have any other way.
言わないで。当てるから。
Shannon tea.
これは特徴的な匂いだから多分わかるよ。アールグレイかな。
多分そうだと思います。
多分アールグレイで合ってるよ。台所に戻ったら紅茶の缶を見てごらん。
Tea from a can?
ジョージ君は紅茶に詳しいのかね。
お世話になっている社長さんに紅茶の詳しい人がいまして。
I guess it's like coffee, how you can get coffee out of like a big can.
So like dried tea leaves in a big can instead?
I guess so.
Interesting.
講釈を聞いているうちに少しだけわかるようになりました。
ああ、おこのぎ食品の社長さんかい。あの人、そういううんちくは得意やな。
紅茶の名前って産地を示すことが多いんでしょ。じゃあこれはアールグレイという土地で栽培されたのが由来なのかしらね。
Are you stupid?
昔イギリスにグレイ伯爵という人がいたそうで、その人にちなんでつけた名前だそうだよ。
Yes, Ava, it was made in Earl Grey, the town in England.
ちなみにこの特徴的な匂いは茶葉のものではなくて、ベルガモットというみかんの親戚にあたる果物でつけたものなんだって。
She probably doesn't know what an earl is or like how, you know.
Oh yeah, that's true.
The system works.
そうなの。初めて知りました。そういう知識を持っていると紅茶もより美味しくいただけますね。
酒もタバコも同じや。嗜好品はロマンをたしなむもんやで。こういううんちくが味わいを深めるんや。
薬の能書きと同じよね。夏日姉さんも愛用してる頭痛薬の説明書、今度はじっくり読んでから飲んでみなさいよ。
Yo! Yo! That is no chill. Ava has absolutely zero chill.
Gross.
それはいい。
Gross.
今夜試してみなさい。
Grouse.
試してみます。
シャノちゃん、
Grouse, support your
そのポ
woman,
ットを
man.
開けてごらん。茶葉の中にベルガモットを乾燥させたものが混じっているのを見つけられるはずだよ。
入っています。オレンジの皮を乾燥させたようなものが混じっています。
多分これがベルガモットだね。アールグレイの香りの主成分だよ。匂いは鮮烈だから味がきつそうな印象があるけど、素直で飲みやすい味なんだよ。ミルクティーにすると香りもまろやかになって素敵かもしれないね。みんなに注いでポットに余った分があったら、ぜひミルクティーにして飲んでみるといいよ。
はい。ありがとうございます。
George gave her a small wink. Shannon finally realized that George had been doing her a favor by calming down the atmosphere in the room. And he had been doing it for her sake as she lost her self-confidence. The Ushirumi family did not pamper their servants, so if there was any awkwardness, they would be harshly punished, so it didn't often happen that they were given a helping hand like this. Thanks to George's concern, Shannon was somehow able to get a hold of herself and finish serving everything safely. If she was calm while she worked, she could easily carry out her tasks elegantly and flawlessly. By the time the black tea was laid out on the table and an elegant scent drifted around, the room was completely back to how it had been, and a peaceful mood as everyone praised George's knowledge. Shannon wanted to thank him for saving her, but it didn't look like she would get a chance. So she at least thanked him inside her heart, praying to God that George would clear it and push the sorting card away.
ジョージ兄さんは昔からそういう時には助け舟を出してくれるんだよ。話題をさらりと変えてくれるというかさ。
Shannon and Jessica could be seen in the rose garden. Jessica, having got into a fight with her mother, now felt unable to simply nonchalantly wander back into the parlor and so found herself here killing time.
思い返せば、こういう助けられ方をしたのは今回が初めてじゃない気がします。
Whenever I made a careless mistake and George's son was there, he would always naturally smooth things over and make things harmonious, I think.
Oh, now we're in her perspective.
Maybe it wasn't something as direct as picking up a... I don't know what it said. But that was... Yeah, but that was his way of caring. Even servants have pride. They want to fix their own mistakes by themselves. Because if a guest helped them out with that, they would lose face.
そういう空気を読むのが得意なんだろうぜ。まあ、ジョージ兄さんの美学なんだろうよ。あの人、 妙に気ざったらしいところあるからな。
そんなことありません。とっても素敵な方だと思います。
ひょっとしてシャノン、ジョージ兄さんに惚れた？
Shannon had refuted Jessica's words uncharacteristically forcefully, so Jessica caught on immediately.
そういうことはないかと。
そういや、ジョージ兄さんってあまり浮いた話を聞いたことないし、あれ？確か家庭的な子がタイプだとか前に聞いたかな。そりゃいいぜ、シャノンぴったりじゃん。
私がですか？そんな、私にはそんな資格ありませんし。
資格はあるぜ。何年も昔から顔を合わせてて、半ば幼馴染状態。互いに男女であることを意識しないナチュラルな関係ってのは、一度意識し始めるとトントン拍子らしいぜ。
Jessica loved teen magazines with these kind of stories, and she was always on the phone talking excitedly with her friends about that kind of thing. So she had a key intuition for this kind of romantic topic. So this wasn't the first time a topic like this had been brought to Shannon. But it was certainly the first time she had noticed George as a member of the opposite sex. She was furniture, and George was an honored guest connected to the Sharone family. She had thought it impermissible to even imagine any deeper relationship, so she hadn't thought about it. Jessica was taking immense pleasure in poking fun at all this, since it didn't affect her. Shannon was also doing her best to make sure her blushing cheeks weren't discovered, so if George showed up at a time like this, there would have been no way she would be able to keep her cool. They saw George come out from the entrance hall of the mansion, and it looked like he had seen them as well. He headed over, waving his hand. Shannon had to frantically try to regain her ordinary composure before George reached them.
おじいさまがやっと降りてきたよ。あとは大人たちの話になるからって追い出されてね。
Alright, yeah, this has got to be a few years in the past.
Yeah.
そりゃ抜け出して正解だよ。じいさまの顔を拝むくらいなら、疫病神にキスした方がマシだぜ。
そんな言い方は悪いよ。ただおじいさまは僕らのことを疫病神だと思っているかもしれないね。何しろ事業用にお金を借りたいという話でやってきたんだから。
That's right, this wasn't the customary annual October family conference. But Ava certainly had visited to apply for a business loan for the main family. Kinzo had vast resources, and he lent those out to his children. Of course, this was not money to lend because they had gotten themselves into financial trouble. How would they expand their business using the vast amount of money that they had borrowed? How much interest would be attached, and how soon could it be repaid? This wasn't a loan for the have-nots. It was a loan for those who were on the fence. Kinzo judged strictly whether it was worth lending out his fortune, and afterwards he strictly oversaw its use. So there was occasionally a spectacle where relatives visited Rokkenjima and explained their business to Kinzo. To the parents, it may well have been a meeting concerning the movement of large sums of money, forcing immense stress upon them. But to Jessica, who lived on this isolated island called Rokkenjima, it was a precious opportunity. Fuck. How do I pull this up on here?
I'm not sure how to do it on a controller.
Fuck! What am I doing? I skipped 2 lines. Sorry. So even her bad mood from getting into that fight with her mother was immediately cured by this chat with the infrequent vision of George.
うちも全くケチくせえぜ。金なんて余ってるんだろうから、気前よく貸してやりゃいいのによ。うち。
本当は脇で見させてもらって勉強したいんだけど。
Oh, now it works.
What button is it?
I think it's the right arrow.
Huh?
母さんに追い出されちゃったんだよ。
Oh, it's the bottom arrow? Or is it the top arrow? Oh, it's the left arrow.
Top arrow, left arrow.
I don't know.
There we go.
This is a mess.
ちょっと残念かな。
親方様はクラウス様やエヴァ様のことを今でも子供の頃と全く変わらないように叱られるようです。そんな姿を息子のジョージ様にきっと見せたくないのでしょう。
As Shannon hung her head, she thought back on those scenes that she had grown used to seeing while working in the mansion. Even Krause, who acted haughtily towards his siblings, was still treated like a child by Kinzo. Shannon herself had often seen Kinzo slapping Krause or making him sit in a siesta style, which is...
which I would assume is like
Traditional Japanese manner of sitting, used for formal occasions where respect is demanded. In a seat is the style you kneel on the floor, on a cushion with your legs folded under your thighs and sitting on your heels with the toss of your feet entirely flat on the floor and their toes overlapping. The position can be quite uncomfortable to maintain for long periods of time, especially for those unaccustomed to it.
Yeah.
It was probably deeply humiliating to have that forced upon him at his age. In the Ushirome family, taking care not to be present when this happened was one of the great tasks of the servants. Of course, that did mean that Shannon had been making mistakes by being witness to it.
そうだろうね。それを察して姿を消すのも子供の務めかな。それにしても今年もこの庭園の花は本当に素敵だね。
George stressed Shannon as he said that, and truly effortlessly he changed the subject away from something that had become a little gloomy. This time Shannon noticed it too. This person, George, was highly sensitive to the mood of the group and was always caring enough to change the subject to something harmonious. It had been so smooth that Shannon hadn't noticed it until today. Today, Shannon had to really admire that behavior of George's. Almost all the boys Shannon knew of her own age were classmates during their education, but they were all immature and none of them had the composure that George did, even though he had just been another guest up until moments ago. Now, she couldn't spare him with just that. But that was idle thinking, irrelevant to her work as a servant. Shannon tried to chase it away with a small shake of her head.
どうしたんだよ。
いえ、お茶のご用意をしましょうか。先ほどのアールグレイを改めてご用意します。
紅茶の名前覚えてくれたんだね。嬉しいよ。
さっきはお気遣いをありがとうございました。
Shannon was finally able to put her things into words. If you wrote them out on paper, they wouldn't seem like much, but Shannon had needed just a little courage to say them out loud. But George played dumb.
何のことだい？お礼を言われるような覚えはないけど。
It seemed he was being a gentleman in his own way, saying that he hadn't helped her because he wanted to be thanked. It seemed that George's response had been more or less predictable to Jessica. She burst out laughing uncontrollably.
なあ、こういうところ気ざったらしいだろ。
いえ、そんなことは。
Jessica made fun of Shannon as she remained silent, red-faced. George didn't know the details, but he naturally joined in, laughing the same way.
Oh, they're so happy.
The three of them lazily walked around the garden, talking about what was new. George, as the oldest cousin, talked about his life experiences. Jessica talked about the recent life on Rokkenjima. Shannon talked about her recent work. Those silly life topics went round and round in circles. Even when other stories had been fascinating, Shannon had never felt particularly connected to their contents. She was nothing more than a servant, and she had no intention of delving into their masters' lives. She simply wanted them to enjoy their time speaking with her, and was only pretending to listen intently and nodding at the right moments. For some reason, she found talking with George deeply interesting today. Even for the things that she would normally ignore, she felt like she could feel a kindness hidden beneath the words. For some reason, she wanted to know more things about George, no matter how trivial. So she stared physically at him. She thought that as far as looks went, this person, Ushirome George, was probably about average. He didn't really stick out. He was diligent, serious, and deeply thoughtful in a way that allowed him to understand people's hearts and care for them. But she had never been aware of those things until now. She might have not have met him many times, but she had known his face for many years. Even so, she had not noticed once until now. So Shannon felt ashamed of this, and her cheeks went red. Maybe George thought that Shannon was appreciating him talk about himself, because he continued to relate his personal stories. Jessica didn't miss that slight change in Shannon, so she turned the discussion around to the topic Shannon wanted to hear about most.
そういやさ。
Oh,
ジョ
here
ー
we
ジ
go.
兄さん、いい加減に彼女とかはできたわけ？
なんだい、やぶから棒に。
Normally, just George's reaction would have been answer enough. But for some reason, as she was now, Shannon found herself unable to understand him unless he said it clearly.
ジョージ様はお優しいですから、さぞや表になるだろうと。
いや、
よせよシャノ。そういう追い詰め方はかえって意地悪だぜ。
私は別に
嬉しい勘違いをありがとう。残念だけど特定の一人の女性とは まだご縁がないよ。見ての通り容姿も並以下だからね。女の子を楽しくさせてあげられるような気の利いた話術もないし。
そんなことないと思います。それに男性の魅力は容姿では測れないところで決まるんじゃないかと思います。だからそのジョージ様はとても魅力的な男性じゃないかと思います。
Shannon was uncharacteristically verbose. Compared to her normal self, she was being very wordy indeed. George looked fairly pleased about hearing his own charm described, but he was just a little surprised at this high praise. Jessica, sure now that her own imagination was right on, acted as though she could barely hold back her laughter.
シャノンちゃん、僕に魅力を感じてくれるような寛大な女性に早く巡り会いたいね。
きっと巡り会えると思います。ジョージ様の本当の魅力に気づいている女性はきっと大勢いらっしゃると思いますよ。
She probably wanted to say there's not a girl very far away. She avoided saying that much, drawing a final line as a servant.
そうかな。さすがに照れるね。
Maybe I'd never been phrased this much by a girl. George's face turned just as bright red as Shannon's. As she watched the two of them, Jessica giggled sadistically.
ジョージ兄さんもやがては素敵なパートナーと出会うだろうけどさ、今のままじゃきっと上手にパートナーをエスコートできないと思うぜ。勤勉でいらっしゃるようだけど、そっちのお勉強はからっきしみたいだしよ。
悪かったね。その勉強はこれから少しずつしていくよ。
相手もいないのにどうやって？恋愛映画でも見る？それとも秀吉おじさんに習う？
まるで鬼の首でも取ったみたいだな。こういう話では男は女の子にかなわないね。
Normally when George and Jessica got together, their parents would say George is diligent and admirable and Jessica is lazy and rude. So it was probably irresistible fun for Jessica when the roles were finally reversed. George also realized that, so this time he was content with being the one who was teased.
ジョージ兄さんさえいいならさ、シャノンでちょっと練習してみたら？
Oh, she's just going to town.
シャノンを一日退屈させずにデートに連れてくんだよ。どうよ？
そんなお嬢様。
When she heard Jessica's audacious plan, Shannon's face turned a bright red, and a donut of smoke rose from it with a poof.
それはとても魅力的な提案だけど、シャノンちゃんに悪いよ。彼女の貴重な休日を奪うだけじゃない。彼女が本当に思いを寄せる人と二人きりで過ごす聖域に僕が割り込んでしまうことになる。
But George-sama, I need practice too.
そんな無粋なことはできないね。
Oh, come on, guys. Come on.
思い人とかそういう人はいませんので、そういうお気遣いは、無用なのです。
Shannon's blood had all rushed to her head, and she looked as she even didn't know what she was babbling about. Jessica knew how Shannon normally was, seemed to really find that comical. She couldn't hide her cackling laugh anymore.
そうなのかい？シャノンちゃんみたいな可愛い子が一人になって信じられないね。
I'm feeling Jessica right now.
Yeah.
私、
she can't handle it. She's completely overwhelmed.
This is hilarious.
ってことは、シャノンも将来素敵な男性を射止めるために
Shannon needs practice.
交際の練習
Yes!
ってことつまり二人とも互いの思惑が一致するわけだ。なるほど。
Let's face it, Jessica.
You crazy bastard. Look at what you've done.
Jessica irresponsibly cheered the two of them on. Now George was also having his head red-faced.
ジョージ、さっきから呼んでるわよ。聞こえないの？
Wow.
Since Ava appeared in what was already an embarrassing situation, both of them became even more flustered. Jessica was in stitches.
母さん、ごめんよ。話が込み入っちゃっててね。気づかなかった。
これはエヴァ様。大変失礼しました。
若い子たち同士で大層盛り上がってたみたいね。あなたたちもみんなお年頃だもの。そういう話題が尽きないのもよくわかるわ。
Oh shit, Ava, no!
嫌ですね。エヴァおばさんだってまだまだお若いじゃないですか。
Damn,
秀
girl.
吉おじさんとの馴れ初めを聞かせてくださいよ。
Still in your
あ
prime.
ら、そんなの言えるわけないわよ。本当にみんな若いんだから。
Well, you see, I went to a strip club and he usually was a stripper.
Oh god. Oh no.
I called him Big Papa, but he seemed to really like that.
I am not okay with that mental image right now. Why would you say that? Oh.
Because she said she couldn't tell them.
Hideyoshi as a
それで
male stripper.
母さん用があって声をかけたんじゃないの？
Oh.
お父さんたちの話が終わったわ。おじい様にあなたの話をするからいらっしゃい。
僕の話？何の話かな？
今みんなでしてたのと同じ話よ。ほら、例の話。
ああの話かい。別におじい様に話すようなことじゃないんじゃないかな。
What? Like him having a romantic partner?
まさかジョージ兄さん誰かと結婚するの？
Who an arranged marriage?
それはおめでとうございます。
おめでとう。
違うよ。特定の女性はいないってさっき言ったじゃないか。
威張ることじゃないでしょ。まったく。
Ava smiled bitterly, looking a little exasperated.
わかった。ジョージ兄さんあれでしょ。お見合いだ。
お見合いですか？
まあね。
As a man, George undoubtedly wanted to find a partner by himself and carry her off himself, so it seemed that he found the idea of meeting his partner for the first time in a marriage meeting arranged by his parents to be a little pathetic.
お見合いというのはもっと年齢が成熟してからするものじゃないのか。僕はまだ一人前になったって自覚すらないというのに。
もちろん即結納即結婚なんて焦る気は全然ないのよ。親睦を深めて年齢的にもう少し落ち着いてから籍を入れる形でも問題ないの。
From the forceful impression Ava was giving and George's evasiveness, it seemed you could catch a glimpse of how this marriage meeting linked into everything. Who this other person was remained unclear, but it was surely someone profitable to Ava's family in a business sense. It almost sounded like a political strategy. They wanted to create a connection between the two families, if not by changing registers, then at least by having them get engaged.
結婚はね、好きになってからするものじゃないの。してから慣れることよ。感情だけで結婚すると必ず後悔する。
Except for the strip club.
身元のしっかりした人を生涯の伴侶に選んで、それから愛情を築いていくのも決して間違ったことではないの。
I don't know if that's really how it works though.
エヴァおばさん、それじゃ秀吉おじさんに悪いですよ。
私はあの人のこと大好きよ。いつまでも一緒にいて人生を共にしていきたい。
Some days I think back to that strip club
エヴァ様、
when I saw
素晴らしいです。
Hideyoshi
本当にご
wearing
立
a
派
pink
です。
ball.
ありがとう。でもその気持ちは二人で夫婦をしていくうちに育んだも
It was love
の。
at first sight. You know?
No.
そして今の私たちより未来の私たちの方がもっともっと仲良しだと信じてる。私は夫婦はそういうものがいいと思ってるの。
だからって
There's gotta be something
好きでもない相手と結婚してもいいって論法にはならないと思うけどな。
だからって好きな相手なら誰と結婚してもいいという論法にはならないわ。結婚は一瞬。でもその後の夫婦生活はずっとずっと長いの。だから一時の感情に任せず慎重に相手を探すべきなの。そしてそれは人生経験の未熟なあなたよりお母さんたちの方がうまくやれるとは思わない。
それはそうかもしれないけど。
あなたは私の自慢の一人息子よ。どこへ出しても恥ずかしくないくらい立派に成長してくれたわ。バトラ君は籍を抜け、あなたが今やお父様の血を引く唯一の男孫。あなたにふさわしい相手は慎重に選ばなくてはならない。
As everyone related to the Umineko family knew, Ava adored George so much that he was the apple of her eye. But that didn't mean that she had pampered him. She had raised him strictly, and he had grown into a charming man who wouldn't betray her expectations. That's how he was the apple of her eye.
あなたの相手は決して母さんたちの損得で決めてなんかいないわ。あなたにふさわしい。今はあなたの中にある青臭い若さがそれを疎むかもしれない。でもこれだけは母さんの言うことを聞きなさい。私があなたのためを思わなかったことが一度でもある？
それはないけど。
今はそれで結構よ。さあ行きましょう。お父様を待たせてるわよ。急いで屋敷に行きなさい。
じゃあごめんね、二人とも。また後で。
George bowed to the two of them, and after bowing once more to Shannon, he dashed off to the mansion.
じゃあおばさんも行くわね。楽しい話を打ち切っちゃってごめんね、ジェシカちゃん、シャノンちゃん。
いえいえ、気にしないでください。じゃあシャノン、私たちは行こうぜ。
はい。
大丈夫よ。ジェシカちゃんだってきっとそのうち素敵な出会いがあるわよ。ジェシカちゃんにふさわしい素敵な方がね。
Oh, and screw servants, they don't get to meet anybody.
No, they're
私
just
と同程
furniture.
度ってことは成績の悪い男かな。
Shannon, maybe you'll meet a nice chair someday.
なんだかうぜ
Or
えぜ。
maybe a
The table.
fold-up table, or, you know.
もちろんシャノンちゃんにもね、あなたにふさわしい素敵な男性がきっと現れるわよ。
はい、ありがとうございます。
As Ava giggled and smiled, she approached Shannon's ear with a hand over her mouth as she was trying
Oh,
to tell her
no.
secret.
Oh,
Ah!
使用人風情のあなたにぴったりの相手がきっと見つかるわよ。義務教育に行かせてもらった恩も忘れて
Oh.
身の程を知りなさい。
そんなつもりは。私。
ジョージはお父様の血を引く孫の中では嫡男に当たるのよ。ひょっとしたら未来の後宮家を背負うことになるかもしれない人。その期待に応えるためにたくさんの勉強を重ねて素晴らしい大学に入り、
How did she pick up on anything from that?
I don't know.
そんな
That's
ジ
a
ョ
great
ージ
question.
と無能無資格無教養
Shannon
な
literally
使
did
用
nothing
人
suspicious in
風
front of
情
Ava.
が
What the fuck?
Just, I mean, maybe just the fact that they were together was enough to, like, tip her off. But even that's too little, I feel like.
Those malicious words all poured into Shannon's ear without spilling a drop. To Shannon, it was like cold water being poured in there.
私はそんなつもりは。
This is all whispered in secret, with the same smile as before. Jessica, who could only see Ava's expression, didn't think it was anything other than Ava telling Shannon some embarrassing story about love. Their secret conversation ended. Ava patted Shannon's shoulders as though to underscore a message.
大丈夫よ。あなたにぴったりのお相手がきっと見つかるから。
Oh, I am so glad she got ice picked.
じゃあね、ジェシカちゃん。また後でね。
I like Ava.
You like
ま
her?
た
Yes, I
秀
do.
吉おじさんとの話
I
その
like
時
Ava
聞かせ
now.
てくださいね。
いやよ。
She's funny.
I mean, she's rude and
Ava left dryly and headed back to the entrance hall.
she's rude and emotionally manipulative, but she's also very sly and cunning and intelligent. So
Yes.
there's kind of a, you know, I can see the draw there, but also she's just kind of an asshole.
Pretty much.
Too much for me.
Beyond Jessica, who was cheerily waving her hand, Shannon reflected very, very deeply on those words of Ava's about knowing her place.
What is that?
I have no idea.
It's like a weird Italian, but not really.
Maybe. I felt deep remorse for my brief moment of conceit. I'd forgotten. I'm furniture. Furniture isn't human. So I'm a being who must feel gratitude for even being treated like human. And I am not permitted to wish for anything more. Even if people develop an affection for furniture they're used to using, that is an emotion on the human side, and the furniture has no right to hope for that. They should just serve with simple honesty every day. But that feeling I felt with talking with Georgia-sama and Jessica-sama was a forbidden drug for me. In other words, it may have been an emotion I must not know.
シャノン、先ほどからぼんやりが過ぎます。体調でも悪いのですか？
Sorry, Natsune-san. It's a headache. you know, a really bad migraine.
Have you had headaches before, Natsu?
Do you have any ice picks I could use?
いえ、失礼いたしました。
Natsu's words, too distracted, were right on the mark. Even Shannon couldn't believe it. She hadn't noticed Natsu until she had been called. This was supposed to be the time where she had to concentrate on the cleaning. but she had just kept sighing and hadn't accomplished anything.
たとえお客様がおられなくても常に気を張っていなくてはなりません。そんな様では後宮家に仕える使用人として情けありませんよ。
はい、以後注意します。
もうじき当主様と主人がお帰りになられます。書斎の清掃は済んでいますか？階段の清掃は済んでいますか？
申し訳ございません。まだです。
This whole dynamic
知っ
really
ていま
bothers
す。
me.
ですからルノンにやらせておきました。あなたがもたもたと廊下を清掃している時間で彼女は書斎と階段の清掃を済ませてしまいましたよ。
それは丁寧にお掃除をしていたから時間がかかってしまって。
Shannon was simple and honest, so she'd always carry out her tasks seriously and properly without any omissions. So she was always slow with her work. In contrast, Ruben skillfully cut corners wherever they should be cut, so she could complete her jobs with a result that looked similar to an outsider, but in a much shorter time. In other words, she was shrewd. Compared to her, we should say that Shannon, who had just talked back to Nancy when she was already in a bad mood, was not shrewd in the slightest. Of course, there was nothing that Nancy couldn't stand more than a servant talking back. Her forehead creased and she spoke sternly. And yet her speech was slow and admonishing, which was terrifying beyond measure, and finally made Shannon realize she had said the wrong thing.
ならば存分に丁寧な清掃を心がけなさい。シャノン、あなたにこのまま大広間の清掃も命じます。当主様の大切な絵画が多数飾られ、後宮家への賓客をお招きすることもある大切な広間です。埃一つ残さないようあなたが納得するまで丁寧に清掃なさい。もちろん今日中にです。それを終えて私に報告するまで食事も休憩も許しません。わかりましたね？
はい、奥様。
結構。使用人はその言葉だけを口にするように、次の口答えにはより厳しい罰を与えますから、そのつもりでよく胸に刻んでおきなさい。
はい、奥様、ご指導をありがとうございます。
どういたしまして。
That makes me so uncomfortable and frustrated.
Nancy headed off down the corridor, making a gesture as if her headache was troubling her. It's just a headache. That's not the only reason why this is happening. Just
it's not the only reason.
Just a headache.
That's how they've been
Just
treating all their servants.
Just a headache.
They literally call themselves furniture.
Just a headache. Once Shannon couldn't see her anymore, she hung her head and sighed. It's happened because I let my thoughts take me. I might be bad at everything I do, but I should at least be able to carry out the cleaning as well as an average person can, right? I can't even do that properly. It's so pathetic it makes me cry. And there's something even more pathetic. Not only was I unable to perform a single beat of cleaning well, but just now when Natsu was scolding me, I was envisioning him appearing and rescuing me. If only George-san had been there. Perhaps he would have casually stepped in and saved me. I'm sure he would show up cheerfully, intentionally acting like he doesn't know what's going on, nimbly change the subject and make me forget I was ever reprimanded by Natsui. I kept envisioning him, suddenly appearing from the other side of the door, or the other end of the hallway. I envisioned the kind of person that would be an appropriate partner for him in a marriage meeting, and I envisioned how unfitting I am for him. Ava had told me that clearly. It had repeated endlessly through my dreams.
姉さんは相変わらず不器用だね。奥様は今朝から虫の居所が悪い。黙ってうなずいていればいいものを余計なことを言うから。
カノン君。
Canon was suddenly there. His footsteps were quieter than a cat's, and he left no trace of his presence. She probably wouldn't have noticed him no matter how long he stood there. The expression on Canon's face was hatred. That expression he was making, he surely made for Shannon, who didn't know how to do so herself.
奥様も、そしてルノンも地獄へ落ちろ。あいつは奥様がどこをチェックするか知ってて、そこしか掃除しない。さっきの掃除もそうだった。見ていたから知ってる。本当の意味での掃除なんかしてないんだよ。丁寧に掃除する姉さんに寄生してるだけの最低なやつだ。
そんな汚い言葉を使ってはダメよ。汚い言葉はカノン君の綺麗な魂まで怪我してしまう。だからせめて私の前ではそんな言葉遣いをしないでね。
Canon faced away, acting sulkily. It was a dishonest reaction, very like Canon-kun, but I was a little happy. he got angry in my
大
place.
広間の掃除は大変だよ。僕も手伝う。
ありがとう。でも奥様に命じられたのは私だから大丈夫。カノン君にも自分のお仕事があるんでしょ。
汚らわしい仕事だよ。僕の魂なんてとっくに汚れてる。
Canon hugged his head and bit his lower lip.
手伝ってくれるという言葉だけで私は十分。カノン君も自分の仕事に戻らないとあなたまで罰を受けることになっちゃう。そしたら私は悲しい。
Shannon knew Kenan's character well. Sometimes he didn't reflect on himself. If I don't refuse forcefully, he will help me, even if it means neglecting his own job. Kenan was a little sad that his favor had been rejected. But he realized that a man going too far would also cause her pain, and he gave a small single sigh.
わかったよ。姉さんも頑張って。
それに私にも責任はあるから。
姉さんには責任なんて何もないよ。
あるの。だからもう言って。
Kenan, whose face showed that he still hadn't completely accepted it, but he stopped being persistent and disappeared. Even though Kenan could not give me words of comfort when I was down, even so I was still rejected because it hadn't been him. That was so simply a sin. Far beyond any dreams the like of me could be permitted to see. Know your place. Shannon, who had neglected breakfast, was already starting to feel our thoughts attenuate. But if she didn't finish cleaning the reception hall, she couldn't receive Natsu's permission to eat. That cruel Natsu had surely told the kitchen of that. I have to respectfully receive Madame's punishment. That's right. My position in the world is furniture, and I had been intoxicated by a dream that is beyond me. I finished cleaning the hallway and went to clean the reception hall. Maybe hunger makes a noise more sensitive. The kitchen was far away, but somehow I could smell the delicious aroma wafting from there, stimulating my empty stomach all the more. Until I finished up here, I could not get any soup. I just had to prepare myself. Several portraits were hung in the reception hall. One of these portraits was thought amongst the servants to hold special meaning. I'm developing dyslexia or something.
It happens when you read so much.
Yeah.
Especially out loud, you just have a stroke.
It was the portrait of the witch. That wasn't its true name, but everyone in the mansion called it that. The name of the woman with elegant blonde hair drawn as the subject of that portrait was Beatrice. It was whispered that she might be the former mistress of the family head Kinzo, and also that she was the great witch who had given Kinzo's legendary gold. The witch Beatrice, master of the Northern Country. She was gracious to those who respected her, but she would always curse those who made light of her. It was in Shannon's character not to neglect rules and beliefs such as those. So she thought of the portrait of her other master as the person herself, and always treated it carefully, treasuring it. And it had become part of her daily routine to talk inside her own head to the witch who had only existed inside the portrait. She was furniture. Furniture doesn't complain, cannot complain. She had no right to speak her mind about her difficult days. No right to open her mouth and say those words. So she at least spoke her mind inside her heart. Those words she couldn't say out loud, she spoke inside her heart and protested to the formless the witch. Of course, the witch didn't answer. She never consoled, and she never laughed it off. Shannon could only interpret that silence as she liked, as though the witch was at least listening attentively.
ベアトリーチェ様、みすぼらしい私の話を聞いてください。
As Shannon wiped the dust from the witch's portrait, she spoke inside her heart.
私は確かにエヴァ様の言う通り、無能で無教養な家具です。人じゃない。だから恋をする資格などないかもしれません。でもだったらどうして恋を知ることのできる心などお与えになったのでしょうか。
Karen paused there and held back her tears for a time. The sound of the rain which had started falling, along with the chill in the reception hall, made her feel as though her shabbiness had increased another level.
本当の家具なら心なんかない。だから人を愛したりしなくて済むじゃないですか。だから苦しまない。私も同じ家具なのにどうして心なんかあるんですか。こんな 苦しくて辛い思いをするならこんな心なんて。
なるほど。家具に心を与えたか。あれも時には愉快なことをする。
Ah! Hee! The witch who never answered or laughed answered and laughed. My
Did
imagination,
both.
hearing things. No. After all, the next words became a voice, and I could hear them not with my heart, but with my ears.
人間は世界を構成する元素について、古代ギリシャ人たちは風、火、水、土の4つで世界の説明を試みたという。その後も数千年かけて人間たちはその4つにさまざまな元素を加え、5代、6代、7代、8代、12代とさまざまな解釈で世界を説明しようとしたが、唯一の真実である。しかし星の導きによって現れた一人の男がついにこの世界を構成する一なる元素を説明した。何かわかるか？
Shannon fearfully turned around.
Hey, there she is.
What? What?
It's our girl.
Right there, she existed.
Oh, wait, what?
Not in some illusion, in reality.
Okay,
No.
that was in full quotes, not just the apostrophes that they usually use.
The contrast made by the lightning made it clear that this was not just a daydream. It's a hallucination.
それは愛。
Stop hallucinating a witch, Shannon. The witch of the portrait elegantly held a golden pipe to her mouth and giggled. She laughed at the ignorance which caused mankind's thoughts to stray far from the most simple answer.
その男は世界のすべてを愛で説明した。それこそが男は最小の数で世界の構成を説明しきったのだ。なんとも単純明快にして豪快爽快愉快痛快。やがてその男の生まれた年は西暦紀元と呼ばれるようになったがな。
So Jesus.
Shannon lost any words to speak. She thought that when first meeting an unknown guest, her first word should ask that person's name. But without saying anything, Shannon knew this person's name, so she refrained. No, surely as a person in this island, asking for this person for her name would be the greatest disrespect, because she was the other master of the island in addition to Kinzo. Shannon, did you hit your head?
Definitely.
わらわがベアトリーチェ。
ベアトリーチェ。
千年を経ても人がわらわを見て最初に浮かべる表情は変わらんな。
Because surely witches don't exist.
Of course not. Not at all.
The witch giggled at how Shannon's reaction didn't betray her expectations. Shannon realized that she'd been met with a being that mustn't be met with, and she took a step backwards. That is where the wall and the portrait were, so even as she gazed at the witch, she supported the witch's portrait on her
お
back.
前の悩みは愛ゆえよ。それはすなわち世界の一なる元素、つまりこの世のすべてだ。それが満たされぬということは世界が満たされぬに同じこと。それは穴の開いた水筒に水を汲み続けるのに似ている。
Oh, that sounds familiar.
From where?
They said that line earlier in this episode, but I forget in context of what. Was it George and Shannon on Okinawa?
永遠の心の砂漠。人間の基礎にして全てにして現在。わかるか？知識の実を口にしたアダムとイブが知ったのは愛だったのだ。
Interesting.
それを知ったがゆえに人は楽園を追われ人足り得たのだ。すなわちそれは愛を知り 心優しき娘よ。そなたは誇っていい。それを知った今、そなたはもはや家具にあらず。そなたは今こそ人間なのだ。我が名にかけてそれを認めようぞ。凡庸の身には理解も辛き話か。まあよいわ。許すがいい。久しぶりに人間と話すのでな。饒舌が過ぎたことを謝ろう。
Without expecting a reply from Shannon, Bates Ricci left, pleasantly for a while.
詫びと言ってはなんだが、わらわの力でそなたのその願望を叶えてやってもよいぞ。
What? The meaning of these words surprised Shannon even more than Ricci's sudden appearance.
そなたを思い人と添い遂げさせてやってもよいと言っている。本来ならばそれに見合うだけの対価を要求するところだがわらわは機嫌が良い。それにそなたはわらわへの礼を欠かさず今日までよく尽くした。それへの褒美としてやってもよい。
Drive the two who are in love apart.
本当ですか？
What? What do you mean? What were you saying?
Does the epitaph not refer to Ava and Hideyoshi, but to George and Shannon?
Well, then why would Ava and Hideyoshi died? They're almost driven apart.
But, I mean, it's not 100% confirmed that it refers to them. I mean, it just could have been.
It said tear apart the two that are close.
Right. But Ava and Hideyoshi aren't the only ones who are close.
You know what else is close? Roses in a rose garden. It might not even be referring to people.
We just don't have enough. It's just a thought. Can you go back to the log? Can you do that again? I'm offering to bring you and the one you love together. Normally I would demand something of equal value in return. So, I mean, we'll probably get to what the thing she wants in return is, but that line just kind of sparked the epitaph to me.
Okay.
So, I don't know. Just keep going.
Normally, Shannon would have been shocked by this guest who lacked realism and wouldn't have been able to speak. However, as though she had already been caught up in the witch's trap, Shannon responded to the witch.
わらわの魔法にかかれば、思い人と結ばれるように取り計らうなど造作もない。
You do mean it, don't you? Those words almost escaped Shannon's lips, but she held herself back with final reserves of reason. A witch is a witch, a sinister being. The witch Bates Ricci is clearly trying to slip in through the cracks of my heart and take me prisoner. The sort of temptation which so many fairy tale picture books had warned me about when I was young was right in front of me now.
イフもまた敬いの一つよ。心地よくはあるが、これでは拉致が開かぬな。わらわは確かにそなたらが意味嫌う魔女像から離れはせぬ。だがわらわは敬う者には好意を返す。それは人間も同じであろう。そのように身構えられて好意を返せる人間も、
失礼しました。そんなつもりは。
Shannon finally realized that her hostility was rooted to this guest, and she finally digested those words that had been spoken to her a short while ago. You are no longer furniture. Now you are human. The more she reflected upon these words, the more Shannon felt as though Bates Ricci could understand all of her sufferings.
さっきのその褒美の話って何ですか？
お前がその心を虜にする男と結ばれるように取り計らってもいいと言っている。わらわの肖像画を日々丹念に磨いてくれたことへの礼とでも思うがよい。安心せよ。対価は求めぬ。わらわは気前がよい。だがな、対価は求めぬが、頼みがある。
There's always a catch.
Look, here it comes. The other Shen inside her heart gave her a warning. This is what she had been so often warned of in all the scary picture books she had read when she was little. So
the torii was the gate, and the shrine is the thing that we saw earlier.
Shannon immediately remembered it. When you reached Kenjima, but there was a torii and a shrine on a reef which was too small to even be called an island. She had the feeling that Kumasawa had told her the history, but she couldn't remember that very well. Traveling down near aesthetic, or someone had built it, or prayed at it, or something.
知っていますが、それが何か。
魔に通じぬものに一から説明はせぬ。早い話がだな。実はな。あの祠の中にある鏡が収められている。それをそなたに割ってほしいというのだ。
That was a very suspicious request. Shannon didn't know its history, but anything that might be stored inside a shrine would have to be something sacred. She wants me to break it? Why would someone as powerful as a witch be unable to do that herself and be asking a human for help? There was no need for Shannon to speak her thoughts out loud. Beatrice started talking about this reasonable question before Shannon could give her an answer.
あの鏡の魔力は、わらわの魔力と相対する。人の言葉でうまく説明できぬな。例えれば、食器の違いとでも言おうか。あの鏡はフォークで、わらわの力はスープなのだ。フォークでスープは飲めまい？あの鏡の押し付けさえなければ、わらわはスープを飲むのにぴったりのスプーンが用意できるというわけだ。それさえあれば、スープも飲めるし、岩ろうだって掘り抜けるぞ。目玉だってえぐり貫ける。だったか？
何の話かわかりません。私の無教養
なせいだとしたら
謝ります。
こういうことだ。あの忌々しい鏡をわらわのために割る手間をかけてくれたなら、その褒美としてそなたの願いを叶えてやるということだ。
Hey, what about you don't need to do anything for me?
Well, yeah, I mean,
but now she does.
The way she phrased it was that you don't have to repay me, but I'm asking you a favor. So she kind of like flipped it, I guess.
Yeah. It's not a favor anymore.
Nope. That's what she meant, though. That's what she meant when she said that their relationship was magic. Because we saw earlier that she went through with breaking the mirror.
願い事を変えて金蔵に授けた黄金を丸ごとくれてやることにしてもよいぞ。
お断りします。
なんと。
Oh no. Oh no.
Oh boy.
When she heard Shannon's words, Beatrice realized for the first time that her expectations had been betrayed.
理由があれば聞かせよ。誤解があるなら解こうぞ。
理由なんてよくわかりません。でも今日までこの島は平和で何も起こりませんでした。なら鏡を割らなくても今日までと同じ平和がこれからも続いていくはずです。
なるほどなるほど。それはもっともだな。そなたの言う通りだ。あれを割らぬなら割れぬ今日までと同じ日々が明日も明後日も続こうぞ。わらわが絶対の保証をしようではないか。ベアトリーチェの名にかけて言う。割れぬ今日までと同じ日々が明日も明後日も続こうぞ。それは永久に。
Shen was seized by an eerie illusion. The mirror was most likely something to restrain the witch, so breaking the mirror should have been something done for a witch's sake. And yet, it felt as though Shannon had to do it for her own sake. It felt like some premise had been switched.
わらわはあくまでも褒美としてそなたに思いを成就する機会を与えたに過ぎぬ。 割ろうが割るまいがそなたの自由だ。割ればわらわはそなたの願いを叶える。割らねば今日までの明日が永遠に続く。そなたの願いは永遠に叶うことはない。わかるか？何を言っているか。
The witch was telling her. She was pressing her, saying to break the mirror if she wanted to be joined with George. She was declaring that if she didn't break it, then her feelings would definitely never be fulfilled.
やめてください。そんなの聞きたくない。
そなたを苦しめたかったわけではないのだがな。まあいい。愛に苦しさを感じるも人間の醍醐味よ。その感情を存分に楽しむがよい。
Something Kinzo definitely felt.
我が力を借りたいと願ったなら、いつでもあの鏡を割るがよい。そして我が名を叫び呼び覚ますがよい。わらわは必ず約束を守るだろう。これならば文句はあるまい。そなたに今すぐの決断を迫るわけではない。気楽であろう。
Was this still ultimately something she could feel at ease with? Definitely not. The shaman who was burning with love, tormented by passion, being tempted forever by way of escape was too far cruel a trial.
この約束に期限は設けぬが、願いを叶える魔法には期限がある。その期限はわらわが決めるのではない。そなたの思い人が自ら決める。意味がわかるか？
わかりません。
そなたの思い人が愛のちぎりを結ぶべき相手を決めた時が、わらわは魔女だが鬼ではない。互いを愛し合う二人を引き裂く魔法は持ち合わせていないのでな。
Tear apart the two who are close. She can't break love.
そなたの
All
思
she
い
can
人
do
は
is kill
近いうちに見合いに
the
臨む
one
そう
person
だ
or
な。
both of them, but she can't break the love.
そなたは世界で一番その男のことを思っているかもしれん。だが世界で一番ふさわしいとは限らんぞ。わらわは見合いの相手を知っている。その娘は世界で一番後ろ宮
She's
ジョージ
just baiting her. She's so manipulating her right now.
No, I believe in Ava. Ava picked out a great girl for George.
良い学校を出て
Ava?
良い成績を残し
You trust
落
Ava?
ち着きがあって資料
Ava hasn't let George down in the past. Even George admitted to that.
I mean, not that we've seen. We haven't seen their whole lives.
Well, George said no, she didn't, so I believe George.
But he's also her son, and because of that, he has a bias towards his parents, so he wouldn't necessarily know if his parents let him down.
Maybe.
お前より美しく、お前より聡明で、お前よりふさわしい。お前のような無知無能無教養の娘がどうしてふさわしかろうか。お前が一番知っている。お前が一番ふさわしくない。お前と後ろ宮ジョージが結ばれるなど想像するだけでも罪深い。愚かしい。義務教育に行かせてもらった恩も忘れて身の程を知りなさい。ジョージはお父様の血を引く孫の中では着眼に当たるのよ。ひょっとしたら未来の後ろ宮家を背負うことになるかもしれない人。その期待に応えるためにたくさんの勉強を重ねて素晴らしい大学に入り素晴らしい成績を残しているわ。そんなジョージと無能無資格無教養な使用人風情が釣り合う。
I'm so confused.
本気で思い
It's Ava merging with Beatrice. Because she's hearing Beatrice say this to her, but she's also hearing Ava from what Ava said before to her.
Oh, okay. Wow. I was so thrown off by that.
やめろ。シャノンをいじめるな。
Cannon to the rescue.
貴様は誰だ。
Who the hell are you? At that time, as Shannon held her head, trying to protect her heart from the blade of Beatrice's words, Cannon ran in front of her. Cannon didn't care who this woman was. As long as he knew she was an enemy tormenting Shannon, who he loved and respected as his sister, nothing else would matter.
Cannon-kun, 下がって。この方は。
It seemed that Cannon also realized that the being standing before him was the witch of the portrait. What? Hold on a second.
What?
The whole delusion thing.
Delusion?
I was like, oh, this is just a hallucination. Shannon must have hit her head.
No, it's not.
But then Cannon just come in, and
he sees her. He can see her, so
well,
Shannon
I guess
obviously isn't hallucinating.
Cannon's in on the hallucination too.
Shannon is
how hallucinating
hallucinations
Cannon.
work.
Shannon is hallucinating Cannon, who's hallucinating.
Who's hallucinating Beatrice.
Yes, and also that she was a terrifying being.
シャノンに褒美を取らせたかっただけだが、わらわの言葉が過ぎ、いじめてしまったようだな。
Fishy aroma.
Mackerel.
That's actually what the real title of the song is. Fishy aroma. This is the suspicious scent is a bad translation.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
それは謝ろう。だが、先ほどの約束は、そなたへの褒美として残してゆく。わらわの力が必要ならば、いつでも呼び出すといい。その方法はすでに教えた。では、これにて今宵は退散しよう。敵意の眼差しは心地よくあるが、美容にはちと悪いのでな。
消えろ。お前が何者か知らないが、お前はシャドウを脅かしている。二度と現れるな。
It seemed that Cannon's words made the witch horribly displeased.
言葉を選ばぬか下船め。わらわは敬う者に寛大だが。
While she still smiled, the witch's expression began to warp. An impressive feeling that couldn't be described with any of the five senses gradually filled the room. Even though they couldn't comprehend what it was, they immediately realized it to be something terrifying. If you were swimming in the ocean and something large went by in the water beneath you, you would want to escape to land even before you learned what it was. This was the same as that.
おやめください、ベアトリーチェ様。カノン君はまだ子供なんです。言葉遣いについては謝ります。
Cannon blocked the way to Shannon at the risk of his life. There was a tense spot on his forehead. At that moment, the witch had certainly had Cannon's fate in her clutches. She didn't even need to move a finger. She had Cannon's fate so readily in her grasp that she could crush it completely with a single twist of her own smile. Cannon also understood that, which is why he was sweating, and his knees felt weak, and his arms felt heavy.
There's vomit on his sweater already. Mom spaghetti. He's nervous.
However, Beatrice abruptly released that feeling of tension and laughed.
よかろう。そなたが求めるなら、とカノンとやら、彼女に免じて、今宵は許して使わす。感謝するがよいぞ。さて、今宵はこれで退散する。別れの挨拶に、一つ土産を残そう。二人とも。左手の手のひらをこちらへかざす。
Oh no! Beatrice grinned broadly and snapped her fingers, whereupon their left hands stretched out in front of them and their palms opened against their will.
Oh wow.
It was a strange sensation as though only their left hands had become someone else's. It felt like their left hands alone had become puppets, pulled by strings hanging down from the ceiling. Ken resisted, but he couldn't take back the freedom of his left hand.
騒ぐな。すぐに済む。
Beatrice held her pipe aloft, and from inside the smoke, gold-colored sparkling dust hovered in the air. The glitter eventually became several gold butterflies. The beautiful butterflies danced freely throughout the reception hall, creating a fantastical and beautiful world. And two of those butterflies alighted on the palms of Shen and Cannon's hands. There was a sharp pain as though they'd been burned. When the two of them tried to examine their palms, there was no trace left of that inability to move their bodies, which had been there until a second ago. On the palm of her hand, a small burn mark had been made the size of a pea. Furthermore, it was shaped like a butterfly.
これは何の真似だ
Apparently, Kennen had the same bruise on his hands. He stared at the witch hatefully.
They've been
単
marked.
なる挨拶よ。体はない。ただのあざに過ぎぬから、ほんの数日で言えよ。手当ても必要ない。それは、わらわが確かに今日ここにあり、
Interesting.
そなたと約束を交わしたことを明日に忘れさせぬための印だ。
This has to be all delusion, right?
Oh, of course, definitely. No,
わらわとの出会いは
they're all just
刺
tripping
激が強い。
so hard right now.
We should owe me a family secret. They have the LSD.
翌朝にわらわと
they
の出会いを
they spiked the
夢か
black
幻
tea
と
with
思い込
LSD,
み
Yes.
and then Cannon had a whole Ziploc bag of
ゆっくり考
mushrooms.
えるがいいぞシャネ。そしてゆっくりと休み、明日の朝日に我が印を見て改めて考えてみるがいいだろう。わらわは何も強要せぬ。そなたが自らの意志で自由に未来を決めるがいい。もっとも欲する者の対価がその程度で済むとはな。貴殿をテーマに戯曲を書き上げた偉人たちが悔しがるぞ。それでは縁があったらまた会おう。久しぶりの会話は実に楽しかったぞ。さらばだ家具ども。
Furniture.
Chirichi's body crumbled like smoke and blew away. It was golden smoke. No, a flight of golden butterflies. They scattered in all directions inside the reception hall, leaving a golden mist behind as they disappeared into thin air. After that, only the cold silence was left. The extreme silence was enough to make both of them think that they might have been daydreaming until just a moment ago. Which is why the witch had left it. She had left a mark to make it impossible for them to think it was a daydream.
Or just a really bad trip.
As Shannon and Cannon thought back on the butterfly bruises on their hands and the pain they had felt when those had been left, they stood there for some time, stunned and motionless. From that day on, Shannon was tormented by days of suffering and conflict. They left the marks on them themselves, plot twist. LSD made them stop themselves.
Well, it's a burn mark, right? So maybe they, like, did a little cigarette thing.
A cigarette thing?
In the shape of a butterfly.
The shape of a butterfly?
Yes, because that's possible.